Hi everyone, my name's Andrew and today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint a monochromatic still life image. So the materials that you're going to need is some black and white paint, some paint brushes. I have some wider ones and some thinner ones. I have a palette, but you could use some cardboard if you want, and I have some paper towel just to keep my brushes clean, and then I have some paper. You can use pretty much any paper for this, but I like to use some thicker paper. This is just paper from a sketchbook. You're also going to need a jar for some water. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is tape down your paper. So I just have some masking tape, and I'm going to tape it down to a board, but you could tape it down to a table if you wanted. Try and keep the tape a consistent distance away from the edge, just so that you have a nice border. Okay, there. Now we can get painting. Okay, so the next step is going to be to make a background. And to make the background, you're going to want to use a pretty light gray. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a lot of white. You need enough to cover your whole paper. And you do that because you don't want to run out halfway through and have to try and mix the same color again. That can be really difficult. Okay, so we got enough white, and now we're just going to add a really little bit of gray, or black, sorry, because black is a really powerful color, so it can change the shade of the gray really quickly. So you only need a really little bit. I'm just going to put it in the dish beside, and then add it in with my paintbrush, so I can get exactly how much I want. And so I'm going to mix with this brush, but I'm going to paint the background with this brush just because it'll have less brush marks and it'll be smoother and it's wider, so it'll take less time. You're just gonna want to take a bit of black and mix it in with the white. And you really don't need the gray to be very dark. Really quickly. Okay, let's test it on this piece of paper. And let's see. I think I want it a little bit lighter, so I will add some more white. Let's mix that and put it all over the page. I'll start with this brush just to get off the extra, and then I'll switch to this brush. You just take it on your brush like that, and you're just going to paint it all over the page. Try and get nice, smooth, and even painting. Okay, so once you've finished your background, we're going to start drawing out the basic shape of our image. So this is the image that we're going to paint, and so it's a mug and a couple of pears. So we're just going to use a pencil and draw the basic shape. Doesn't need to be super accurate, you just need a general idea of where everything is going to be and what the shape is, because you're just painting over top of this. Just a really rough outline. So once you've drawn the shape out, you're going to want to start by doing the lightest sections of your picture. So in this picture, there's some light spots over here and on the pears. And so basically what you're going to do is you're just going to cover most of the pears and the cup so that you can layer the lights, and then on top you put the darks and then the really darks. So let's mix some paint. We're just going to add a really little bit to the white until we get the color that we want. Test it. Yep, that looks about right. Okay, let's get started. That looks a little light. Let's add some more black. Nice. Okay. Now we have the right color. Let's start painting the mug. Okay, so once you've painted the first shade of gray, you're going to take some more black and white and mix them together just like you did before. But you're going to want to get a little bit of a darker shade. Just keep adding a little bit of black until you have the color you want. Now we're going to paint along there for the darker parts, just like in the picture. And you want to use kind of short strokes, and just be careful to stay where you're going. Just careful and slowly down there. And then you're going to want to go to that side and into where the next color, the next shade would be. Just so that you can get nice layers. Just take your time and get the shape that you want. And then we're going to go to the inside of the mug. So that's pretty dark. And almost done the lighter gray. Okay, now we'll do the pears, and you're going to want to do a little more than half of the pear in this darker gray. And now the other pear. I'm just going to do the bottom part and then about half of the top. Okay. And that is the second shade of gray. Okay, so the next shade of gray is going to be a little bit darker, and I think I'll do one or maybe two more after this. So just like before, we're going to add some more black to the white, and we're going to make another gray. And now I'm using a smaller brush because I'm getting into some of the more detailed and thinner colored pieces now. So if you have another brush that's smaller, you might want to switch to it. Just need a little bit more black paint just to make it dark enough. Let's test it on the tape. And it can be, yeah, I think that's okay. Okay, so I have my color, and now I'm going to paint there in the really dark spots. So I'm not going to use a whole lot, not as much as before. Just get it in the dark spaces. Down there, and on this side, just like that. On the mug, and then next we'll do the pears. Just making all the lines go in the same direction. Now we're going to do the handle. It is pretty dark. Just want to do layers of gray to make the right shades. Inside the mug. Just need a little bit more. Right to the edges. Okay, now let's do the pears. It's not a lot of dark on the pears, but I'll do this side. Down there. Over there as well. Okay, now we'll do the other side of this pear. In the shadow. And now I think we should do the shadow down there. Okay, so now that we've finished our third shade of gray on the fruit and on the mug, we're going to do the shadow that's on the table or the ground or wherever the items are sitting on. So I just added a tiny bit more white to the last gray we used, just so it's a little bit lighter. Now I'm just going to apply it to the ground, just like that. And it's not going to cover the whole space, but it's going to go to the edge of our items, and it's going to come close to the edge of the bottom edge of the paper. So I'm just adding paint, and it's going to come kind of around in a circle around our items. going to go very close to the edge, but I'm going to leave a little bit of gray space between the items and the shadow just to put a little bit of highlight on them, just so you can see where they start and end better. And I'm kind of just poking with my brush at them, just like that. We're not really doing strokes, kind of pushing paint towards them. Just take your time and be careful to get the paint where you want it. And you can always rotate your board if it's on one, so that you can get to the farther back edges. Just going to smooth out the shape at the front, just like that. I'm going to bring it forward a bit more and smooth out the lines. Okay, and now we're done with the shadow. Okay, so now that we're done the shadow, we're gonna do the really dark parts. So over here, on there, and then a shadow around the bottom of the object. And we're also gonna do the little details, like the stems on the pears. And for that, we're just gonna mix a dark gray, a very, very dark gray, not quite a black, but almost black. So I'm gonna use pretty good amount of black into the white, and we're going to get a nice dark gray. I think we need a little bit more black. Okay, so now that we have our dark color, we can start adding it to our picture. So I'm going to do the handle on the mug first. on the side of the mug, over here. And I'm going to try and blend it a little bit with my finger. See how that goes. And we're going to do the inside of the mug, just around on that side. And then I'm going to do the side of the pear on this side to really define it from the mug, because those are the same color there. I'm just lightly blending it, just so that it doesn't look so like, I don't know, they're just blocky lines. And then I'll do the bottom around there, and on there. I'll do a little bit. You don't need too much on the black. You don't want to overdo it. And then at the bottom, the base of the mug, I'll do a little bit. And then over there for the shadow on the pear. And it doesn't need to be a super smooth line. It can be a little bit rough so that it doesn't look just like a shape. Can kind of do that. I probably should have done that a little bit all over just so it would blend better, but that's okay. I still think it looks cool like this. Just do that. And do a little bit over there. And then we just have the stems to do. So I'm going to use a smaller brush so I can get the little details in. I'm just going to use the same color and just do a nice little thin line. I'm just going to wipe it a little bit on the paper towel so I don't have too much on the brush. I'm just going to do one single little line just for the stem. Maybe put a little bit for a shadow around where it goes down. I'll use this little brush just to touch up that shadow. Don't want to do too much. Then we'll do this stem. And then there's one more thing that we're gonna do. And that one more thing is gonna be, I'm gonna use some really, really light gray to just do some highlights on the shiny spots, on the really light spots. So I'll get the white. Okay, so the final thing that we're gonna do is add the really light highlights. So those are gonna be done in a really light gray, almost white, but not quite. So for that, I just took some white and I mixed a really little bit of that gray stuff we used last time. Now for this, we don't want to overdo it. So we're just gonna take our small brush and gonna kind of wipe off the extra so that we can get it where we want it. and you're just gonna put it in some of the really light parts. So on there, maybe on there, down this side, maybe the bottom, over here. I'm going to kind of blend it in with my finger. Just so that it looks nice and blended and it fits nicely with the rest of the painting. I'm going to do a pear at the top of the cup. Just a little bit. You don't need to do a full line with it. Just a little bit. I'm going to blend that in. And there. I'm going to do a little bit on this pear. And some right over here. And then we're almost done. Maybe a little bit over here. You don't want to overdo the light highlights. You just want to do enough. Okay. And I think we're good. And there you have it. You have the original one and you have the new one. And so the last thing that you can do is you can sign it at the bottom with your name. Maybe you want to put the date. You can do whatever you like. This is your painting. So I hope you enjoyed that and I hope you learned something. I hope you followed along and I hope you made a painting that you're proud of. Thanks for watching.